Welcome to Edinburgh Castle, where we will explore the chilling mysteries and haunting legends embedded deep within Scotland's dark history.
Imagine being a night security guard at Edinburgh Castle. The clock reads 2:17 a.m. The tourists left hours ago. The gates are locked. The stone corridors are empty. At least that's what they're supposed to be. You begin your routine patrol through one of the oldest sections of the fortress. The air is cold. The silence is absolute. Then you hear it. A footstep, another, and another. Slow, deliberate. Following you. You stop. The sound stops. You walk again. The footsteps return. Closer this time. You turn around. Nothing. No one. No movement. No place for anyone to hide. Your flashlight sweeps across the corridor, and for a split second you see a figure standing at the far end. Motionless. Watching. Not moving toward you. Not moving away. Just standing there. You blink. The figure is gone. No door opened. No footsteps echoed away. Nothing. If this sounds like the opening scene of a horror movie, think again. Stories like this have been reported for generations inside Edinburgh Castle, one of the oldest and most mysterious fortresses in Europe. For more than 1,000 years, this castle has witnessed wars, executions, betrayals, imprisonment, disease, and death. Kings ruled from its halls. Prisoners suffered in its dungeons. Soldiers died defending its walls. And according to countless witnesses, not all of them ever left. Visitors have reported hearing invisible footsteps. Guards have spoken about shadowy figures appearing and disappearing without explanation. Tourists claim to have felt unseen hands touching their shoulders. Others insist they heard music coming from underground tunnels where no musician could possibly be. Some of these stories are centuries old. Others were reported only a few years ago. The most unsettling part, no one has ever managed to fully explain them. Are these merely legends passed down through generations? Are they psychological reactions triggered by the castle's dark history? Or is there something hidden within these ancient walls that science still cannot understand? Tonight we step inside Edinburgh Castle to investigate the legends, the mysteries, the eyewitness accounts, and the chilling events that continue to haunt Scotland's most famous fortress. Because the deeper we go into this castle's history, the more difficult it becomes to separate fact from folklore. And sometimes the truth is far more frightening than any ghost story. Before we explore the supernatural stories, we need to understand the place where they were born. Edinburgh Castle is not a fairy tale palace. It was never designed to inspire romance. It was built to survive war. Perched atop Castle Rock, an extinct volcanic formation towering over the city, the fortress dominates the skyline of Edinburgh. Its position made it one of the most strategically important strongholds in Scotland. For centuries, armies fought to control it. Historians consider Edinburgh Castle one of the most heavily besieged locations in Europe. Generation after generation, soldiers died beneath its walls. Prisoners suffered in its cells. Political enemies were imprisoned, tortured, and sometimes executed. Every stone seems to carry the memory of conflict. And that history may be one reason so many strange stories emerged from this place. People naturally associate death with haunting, but Edinburgh Castle accumulated something more than death. It accumulated centuries of human suffering. Thousands of lives intersected here. Thousands of hopes ended here. Thousands of stories disappeared into history. Perhaps that is why the castle feels different. Visitors often describe a strange atmosphere before they even hear any ghost stories. Many say they feel uneasy the moment they enter. Others describe a sense of being watched. Whether psychological or supernatural, the feeling is remarkably common, and the mysteries only become stranger from here. Of all the legends connected to Edinburgh Castle, none is more famous than the tale of the lost piper. The story begins beneath the city itself. For centuries, rumors circulated about hidden tunnels running underneath Edinburgh. Some passages were real, others existed only in local folklore. Some were believed to connect the castle to distant parts of the city. No one knew exactly where all of them led. According to legend, explorers once discovered an unexplored tunnel system beneath the castle. Curious to map its route, they needed someone to venture inside. The task fell to a young bagpiper. His instructions were simple. Walk through the tunnel while continuously playing his bagpipes. The people above ground would follow the sound and record the tunnel's path. At first, everything went according to plan. The music echoed beneath the streets. People listened carefully and tracked his progress. The notes drifted through the underground darkness. Then suddenly the music stopped. Not gradually, not fading into the distance. It stopped instantly, as if someone had cut the sound from existence. The crowd waited. Nothing. They called his name. No answer. Search parties entered the tunnel. No trace of the boy was ever found. No body. No bagpipes. No explanation. He had simply vanished. Over the centuries, the legend evolved. Residents began reporting strange sounds beneath the city. Some claimed they heard distant bagpipe music late at night. Others reported hearing brief fragments of melody coming from underground. Several described the sound as hauntingly clear before it disappeared without warning. Of course, there is no scientific evidence that the lost piper still plays beneath Edinburgh. Yet the story remains one of Scotland's most enduring mysteries, perhaps because the human mind struggles to accept unexplained disappearances. When no answer exists, legends often take its place. And in Edinburgh, few legends are more powerful than the story of the boy who entered the darkness and never returned. If the lost piper represents mystery, the headless drummer represents fear. For centuries, witnesses have claimed to see a young drummer wandering the castle grounds. The figure is always described in similar terms: a child, ancient military clothing, a war drum, and no head. According to local folklore, the drummer appears only before major disasters. The legend claims he was first seen shortly before attacks on the castle. Whenever danger approached, his drum could supposedly be heard echoing through the fortress. Many dismissed the story as superstition, yet it persisted across generations. Visitors reported hearing rhythmic drumming despite finding no source. Guards occasionally spoke of unexplained sounds at night. Whether real or imagined, the image of a headless child marching through the darkness remains one of the castle's most disturbing legends. Because unlike many ghost stories, this one carries a warning. The drummer does not simply haunt the castle. According to the legend, he announces that something terrible is coming. And perhaps that is why people continue telling the story even today. Ghost stories are easy to dismiss when they come from tourists. After all, visitors arrive expecting to be frightened. Their imaginations are already working before they step through the gates. But what happens when the reports come from people who work there? People who spend hundreds of nights inside the castle. People who know every corridor, every staircase, every shadow. Over the years, a number of night guards and staff members have shared experiences that are difficult to explain. One recurring report involves footsteps, not vague sounds, not distant echoes, distinct footsteps, measured, human, following behind them through empty corridors. Several guards have described the same pattern. They hear footsteps approaching from behind. They stop. The footsteps stop. They continue walking. The footsteps return. When they turn around, no one is there. Others report seeing figures standing at the edge of their vision. A person in old-fashioned clothing, a silhouette near a doorway, a dark shape at the end of a corridor. The moment they focus on it, the figure disappears. One former employee described feeling as though someone had walked directly past him in an empty room. He felt a rush of cold air, instinctively stepped aside, and then realized there was nobody there. Skeptics argue these experiences are perfectly natural. Old buildings produce strange sounds. Ancient stone corridors create unusual echoes. Long night shifts can affect perception. Yet what makes the reports intriguing is their consistency. People who never met each other often describe remarkably similar experiences. Not proof, but enough to keep the stories alive, and perhaps enough to make a lonely night shift feel much longer. Some historians believe the most haunted part of Edinburgh Castle is not the fortress itself, it is the prison. For centuries, enemy soldiers were imprisoned inside the castle. French sailors, Spanish prisoners, Dutch captives, American privateers. Thousands passed through its cells. Many never left. The prison conditions were harsh. The rooms were overcrowded. The air was damp. Disease spread easily. Winter temperatures could be brutal. Death was not uncommon. Today, visitors touring these underground chambers often report unusual experiences. Some describe sudden drops in temperature. Others speak of hearing whispers despite being completely alone. A few claim they heard coughing chains rattling or distant voices. One particularly strange report involves the smell of tobacco smoke. Several visitors claimed to smell smoke in areas where smoking had been prohibited for decades. When investigators searched for a source, they found nothing. No cigarettes, no electrical faults, no explanation. Again, none of these reports prove anything supernatural. Yet they contribute to the castle's reputation, because prisons hold more than prisoners. They hold memories, and in places where suffering lasted for generations, those memories often seem impossible to erase. Perhaps the most fascinating chapter in Edinburgh Castle's mystery began in the early 2000s. A large-scale paranormal study was organized inside the castle. Researchers wanted to test a simple question: could ordinary people identify supposedly haunted locations without being told anything about them? Volunteers were recruited. Importantly, many were not informed about the legends associated with specific areas. They did not know where ghost sightings had supposedly occurred. They did not know which rooms had reputations for paranormal activity. Each participant was placed in different sections of the castle and asked to record their experiences. The results surprised many observers. A significant number of volunteers reported unusual sensations in the same locations, already associated with paranormal stories. Some described intense feelings of anxiety. Others felt watched. Several reported sudden chills. A few claimed they sensed an invisible presence standing nearby. One participant reportedly felt as if someone tugged on their clothing. Another believed a hand had touched their shoulder. Researchers could not conclusively explain the findings. Believers saw the results as evidence that something unusual existed within the castle. Skeptics reached a different conclusion. They argued that environmental factors could influence human perception. Subtle temperature changes, electromagnetic fields, low-frequency sound waves, architectural features. All of these could potentially create feelings of unease. The investigation did not prove ghosts exist, but it also failed to eliminate every mystery. And that ambiguity is exactly what makes Edinburgh Castle so fascinating. The questions remain, the answers do not. This is where the debate becomes truly interesting, because there are two very different ways to interpret the strange events reported at Edinburgh Castle. The supernatural explanation is straightforward. The castle has witnessed immense suffering. Countless deaths occurred within its walls. The spirits of the dead remain. Their presence occasionally reveals itself through sounds, apparitions, and unexplained sensations. For many people, this explanation feels emotionally satisfying. It gives meaning to the stories. It connects the present with the past. But science approaches the mystery differently. Researchers point to a phenomenon known as infrasound. These are sound waves below the range of normal human hearing. Although we cannot consciously hear them, they can affect the body. Studies suggest infrasound may contribute to feelings of fear, anxiety, discomfort, and even the sensation of a presence nearby. Ancient buildings are ideal environments for unusual acoustic effects. Stone walls reflect sound. Long corridors create echoes. Wind passing through narrow openings can generate vibrations. There is also the psychological factor. Humans are pattern-seeking creatures. When entering a location with a frightening reputation, the brain becomes hyper-alert. Every shadow seems suspicious. Every noise feels significant. Every coincidence appears meaningful. This does not mean witnesses are lying. Far from it. Their experiences are real. The question is whether those experiences originate outside the mind or inside it, and that question remains unanswered. After examining the legends, the investigations, and the eyewitness accounts, we arrive at an unexpected conclusion. The greatest mystery of Edinburgh Castle may not be ghosts at all. It may be memory. Think about it. For more than 1,000 years, people have arrived here carrying fear, hope, ambition, and desperation. Kings planned wars. Prisoners awaited judgment. Soldiers prepared for battle. Families received devastating news. Lives changed forever within these walls. Most of those people are gone. Their names forgotten. Their stories lost. Yet somehow the castle still feels full. Full of history. Full of emotion. Full of invisible echoes from another age. Whether those echoes are supernatural or psychological almost becomes irrelevant, because their effect is the same. They remind us that the past is never completely gone. It survives in places. It survives in stories. And nowhere is that more apparent than Edinburgh Castle. Personally, I do not think Edinburgh Castle is frightening because of ghosts. I think it is frightening because of time. When you stand inside a fortress that has survived more than 1,000 years, you begin to understand how small a single human life really is. The kings who ruled here believed their power would last forever. It didn't. The soldiers who defended these walls thought history would remember them. Most were forgotten. The prisoners who stared through iron bars dreamed of freedom. Many never saw it. Yet the castle remains, silent, watching centuries pass. That, to me, is more unsettling than any apparition. Maybe the footsteps in the corridors are nothing more than echoes. Maybe the shadow figures are tricks of light. Maybe the lost piper never existed at all. But the emotions these stories create are undeniably real. And perhaps that is the castle's greatest secret. Not that it is haunted by ghosts, but that it is haunted by history itself. A history so powerful that even today it still makes people stop, listen, and wonder what might be standing just beyond the darkness.
If you love exploring these dark historical mysteries, please subscribe to our channel for more chilling videos.